What is up, my dudes and that one girl who's ready for the return of the girls' bike? This is Bikes, Beards, and Brews. Let's kick that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we kick this one off, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. New videos are coming weekly. Ring that bell, you know when they drop. Let's get the other stuff out of the way. Want to save 10% on a Cardo communicator or save some money on some Beyond Riders gear or on some Hogworks gear? Then you should definitely check my referral links down below. Want to support me and all my do-gooderness like these cool guys here? Bam! These should become part of the Brew Crew and join the coffee page down below. Wonder why I'm asking you for money? Well, next to those 10,000 Amazon affiliate links that also go to a good cause is a link explaining what I do with your money. Get it, got it, cool, let's move on. And of course, as always, down below there is a link to my merch shop. I have got hats, I've got shirts, I've got all kinds of stuff. Go check it out and swag yourself out in some Bikes, Beards, and Brews gear. Do it. Let's get on to the video. Alright guys, so today we are going to be talking about some fairly fresh news, and that is Harley-Davidson announced that they are going to be bringing back the Sportster for 2027 in the 883 form. Now I stress 883 because before the Sportster went away, there were many different variations, and you know, we had the 883, there was an 1100, 1000, a 1200, like they've been all over the place for the CCs. They specifically said that this is going to be an 883. So I want to dig into what we currently know, what I hope we are going to see on this bike, and then who is actually going to be buying this bike. And I think that last part alone is probably the biggest question that I'm looking forward to diving into. Okay, as most of you know, I'm sure, Harley-Davidson has a new CEO. His name is Artie Starrs, and he is rolling out his program that's kind of a reboot towards Harley-Davidson. With each new CEO, we have a new plan. His is called Back to Bricks, where he wants to kind of get back to the basics of what made Harley great. And one of those things is bringing back the actual air-cooled Sportster 883. So what we know about this bike so far is it is scheduled to be a 2027 bike. So we may very well see this at the end of this year. Historically speaking, Harley likes to release their bikes in waves. So towards the end of one year, you will see what is new for the following year. Just a narrow scope of a few bikes, and then they go on to a bigger release, and sometimes they have a third release after that. But Harley has given us no indication on when this is actually going to debut. So maybe towards the end of this year, maybe next year. But as it stands, it is supposed to be a 2027 bike. So bare minimum, this thing is already in motion, and we should start seeing some more pics and previews very soon. Now we also know that this bike is being built in the US, which is absolutely awesome. High five to you, Harley. I know that we have a few bikes that are being built in Taiwan and being shipped in. This is not going to be one of them. If you are wondering, anything in the Rev Max line is coming from Taiwan. So to actually see something being built in the US, great, awesome, fantastic. Harley is also promising that this is going to come in at a sub $10,000 price tag. Now, we all know what sub $10,000 means. That is $9,999.99. And then when you get into tax, title, and all that stuff, you're going to be looking at 11 to 12 grand. So just be prepared for that. However, MSRP, sub 10,000. And honestly, this is a step in the right direction for Harley, because we have become so accustomed to Harley just bumping up that price tag year over year. And I have mentioned it in the last couple releases. I was pleasantly surprised that the newer bikes, 2026 and I believe 2025, the prices either stayed the same or some of them actually came down in price. Very few of them went up. And when they did go up, it was not the exponential numbers that they have done in the past. So it really seems like Harley is realizing that they're starting to price out the people that are looking to buy Harleys, and they're working on correcting course. So I think this is just fantastic news overall. So let's talk about what we can see. And overall, not much. It's actually just a silhouette. The thumbnail that you see for this video is actually this picture dropped into ChatGPT, and I asked it to lighten up the picture and try and define the bike a little bit more. So obviously it is not going to be accurate, although it did make sense, some of the stuff that you see. And also with the silhouette, we can confirm certain things. One of those being, there's a 2-up seat on there. So in theory, there should be rear foot pegs on there as well, which is a welcome change, because if you've looked at Harley recently, bikes like the Street Glide and the Road Glide, they have released cheaper versions of these bikes, and part of that is they put a solo seat on there and they do not include rear foot pegs or anything like that, so you have to buy all that extra stuff if you want to have a passenger. Now you would think with a sub $10,000 bike, they would be doing something very similar where they just put a solo seat on there and say this is just for one rider. If you want to go 2-up, you have to buy the additional parts. So having that 2-up silhouette is a good sign, and hopefully they just set this bike up to be a 2-up. Now past that, again with the silhouette, we do have that sort of bobber look. It definitely looks like they're retaining that iconic 883 silhouette that we had for so many years. And really, if you're bringing this bike back, that is something that is very important, because that does mean a lot to the riders that are very passionate about this bike. Now this bike is being heralded as a back to basics sort of setup. With that being said, I do hope they keep doing what they've been doing over recent years and do a full LED lighting system all the way around on this bike. Don't go backwards, don't put incandescent bulbs in this. You finally got away from that. Please don't use a sub $10,000 price tag as an excuse why you can't do it on this bike. And with that comes the question of the gauge up top. Is that going to be an old school gauge, or are we getting one of those TFT screens that they are using on their newer bikes? Personally, I would love the old school gauge. And I know my opening joke was, this is a girl's bike. And that's because that has been the stigma that has just surrounded this bike for so long. Personally, I am a huge fan of the Sportster. It's the first Harley I ever rode on. I have one in my garage along with the Road Glide and the Pan Am. It is just a great bike that is highly customizable, and it is fantastic. Love the bike. So the big question for me would be, what are they doing with the engine? Are they just going back to the Evo? Have they done some sort of updates to it? I would be curious to see if they move to a VVT on this as well. Now with this silhouette, there is a little bit of lighting right there on the engine that doesn't fit with the old engine. And that area right there tends to be the bump out for the new VVT setups on the newer bikes. So I'd be curious to see if they've done something to move this engine forward, or again, if they're just returning to the Evo. If they are just returning to the Evo, then it's pretty safe to say that this is going to be just a US bike because of Euro restrictions overseas, which is the original reason Harley said that they had to stop making this bike, because financially it wasn't viable to update the Evo for European standards. Now, I think the most important question is, will this bike sell? So my biggest fear here goes back to the comment that I see the most when I talk about Harleys, when I talk about the smaller Harleys, when I talk about the Nightster and the Sportster Sport, and that is, you will always see people saying they need to bring back the air-cooled Sportster. That's what they need to do. They need to get back to the air-cooled Sportster. You'll see that nonstop. However, none of these people ever say, I want a new air-cooled Sportster. I want to buy a new air-cooled Sportster. It seems like it's just this whole audience of people that want to complain for the sake of complaining, and they know that this bike doesn't exist anymore, so that's what they want back. And that is what I worry about, because let's be honest, The Sportster was just discontinued in 2022, so not that long ago, couple years. There are thousands of Sportsters in the secondary market, including on Harley-Davidson sales floors across the country, across the globe. So it's not hard to get these things, and it's not hard to get them a few $1,000s cheaper over what the original price tag was. A lot of times with the parts that we used to complain about already replaced. So the crappy suspension, the crappy exhaust, the crappy seat, all that stuff just completely replaced with something much better and still thousands cheaper than buying one of these brand new off of the floor. So for all these people demanding that the Sportster come back, they're already there. You can already get them. And the last issue is one that Harley really needs to address themselves, because this has been going on for countless years, and I seriously doubt it's going to stop when the new bike comes out. And that is salespeople at the dealerships steering people away from Sportsters. I have personally listened to dealers at multiple dealerships telling people not to buy a Sportster as their first bike because they're just going to get bored with it and trade it in and go for a new bike in a year. Now, this argument may be true for some people, but one thing I never hear from these salespeople before they start going on about how you're going to get bored on this bike is any attempt to figure out what these people are actually looking for in a bike. These people may just want a bar hopper. They may just want a weekend bike to put like 50 miles on and that's it. These people may be looking for something small because they don't have a lot of room to store their bike. There's a lot of different reasons to have a Sportster, aside from the fact that they are just plain fun. It just seems like the default answer every single time is, don't buy this bike, you're gonna get bored with it and you're gonna trade it in a year. And really, if that's the case, what's the problem? Especially if they're coming back to Harley to buy their next bike. Dude, let it happen. Let them grow and go through the bikes. Come on, hook a brother up. It is just not a good look when somebody's coming in to try and buy a bike that your company makes and sells and you are just dumping on it right out of the gate. Now, personally, I am excited to see the Sportster return. I have a very special place in my heart for the Sportster. I have one in my garage with my Road Glide and my Pan Am. I absolutely love my Sportster. I have a whole playlist dedicated to me rebuilding that. Go back and check it out. And I really go into depth about what that bike means to me. That would be the last bike I ever get rid of in that garage because of what it means to me. And I am excited to see these come back to market. I'm excited to see who actually does buy them and who does make this their future bike and maybe craft those same kind of memories and that same sort of connection, because the Sportster is a great bike. And over the years, it has just been one of those Harleys that is just awesome because it is so customizable. I mean, let's be honest, you go to a rally, you go to a bike meetup, you go anywhere that has a collection of bikes and you're not gonna see two of the same Sportsters. Those are just the bikes you make your own and you can do so much with, and they have such a rich history. That's what I've got. What do you got? Are you excited to see the Sportster come back? Are you glad to see it under 10K and made in the US? Sound off in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification, share this video with friends, share it with family, share it with that one dude you know who's like, I'd love to get a Sportster, but I don't know where to buy one. Really? Really? He loves this stuff, trust me. I'll see you all on the flip side.